Hello there, I'm Chris Wade from the People and Places Partnership. Today I'm going to talk to you about how we're working with organisations in Saxmundham and with East Suffolk Council to create what we call a forward framework, a roadmap for revitalising Saxmundham Town Centre. So maybe grab yourself a hot drink if you haven't done already, and I'm going to talk you through the different elements of how we create a forward framework for revitalising your town centre. Throughout the presentation, you'll see references to extra help and guidance that you can draw on should you want to, as footers in the footers at the bottom of key slides, or simply if you go to our website www.people-places.net, on the front page you'll see a link to a blog that I've prepared to accompany the presentation. This work to revitalise Saxmundham Town Centre is a partnership between ourselves at People and Places, East Suffolk Council and Saxmundham Town Council. We also want to involve other stakeholder groups from the community as well as representatives of businesses. A copy of this presentation and other resources specific to Saxmundham you can find on the link below to pages on our website under the Postcards From section. This process to revitalise town centres follows national guidance that we prepared for the Local Government Association, and you can find the link to those resources on our website. We're currently updating the guideline with the LGA to reflect changes as a result of the current COVID-19 crisis. Here is a link to a short video about the first steps to recovery post-COVID-19, something we may want to reflect and build into our work going forward in Saxmundham as we go through various phases of transition in what will hopefully be a full recovery from the crisis. As part of People and Places national work and our work in East Suffolk, we've put together increasing a number of resources about responding to COVID-19, the first of which here is about what we need to think about in reopening our town centres, and again the links below and you'll find a growing suite of resources as our understanding increases and we move through the phases of recovery. There are three elements to this talk and indeed to putting together a forward framework. I'm going to begin now by talking about the gathering evidence, what we found by doing extensive survey work within the town and speaking to stakeholders. The survey work in Saxmundham is part of a whole process of survey work across East Suffolk towns, which collectively interviewed around 3,000 town centre users and over 600 businesses. We have detailed information and reports for Saxmundham and the other towns, and one of the interesting things is you can compare it to neighbouring towns to benchmark, to look at how different towns can complement each other and can learn from each other. I'm just going to now reflect on some of the survey findings before we then move on to thinking about how we can work together to find solutions. First slide is looking around at business profitability and performance, and here we can see slides going back pre-COVID-19 to say that in terms of looking to the future, Saxmundham businesses were reasonably confident compared to towns nationally and across East Suffolk, although 16% were still concerned that their turnover would continue to decline. Here we touch on briefly what businesses said they like about being based within Saxmundham Town Centre. And you can see first and foremost, they value the local customers, the location, the appearance of the town, prosperity, hospitality in terms of the food and drink offer. They can see that that complements their businesses within the town centre. Do have one eye on tourists, and then also they like events and activities and marketing work that's already going on. Here we look at businesses' priorities, and when you look at this chart you can see their businesses' priorities divide into really two areas. One's about travel and transport, parking, how people get into and around the town, and then the other about the mix of businesses and their profiles, including the roles of cafes and restaurants complementing the other businesses and amenities. We also gathered lots of information about the profile of customers using the town centre, both through on-street and online surveys. Just want to highlight a couple of the things from that survey and about the profile of customers. Main purpose of the visit, you can see, like many towns, the main reason people are coming into Saxmundham is for convenience shopping. That's grocery shopping. What you can see in Saxmundham is that there's a higher proportion of the customers that are in the town for grocery shopping, and that's probably a reflection of the two large supermarkets that are on the edge of the town centre. What we can also see is people are not lingering in the town very long. Well over 60% of the customers using Saxmundham, although they come into the town more than once a week, they're only staying in town for less than an hour, so very functional in their use of the town centre. We were also interested in customers' perceptions of the town centre. Here we asked them to summarise Saxmundham in one word. And what you can see here is there's a mix. There's a mix of positive words like quaint, pleasant, improving, friendly, and then there's a mix of negative words, neglected, tired, dead, dull. These are things that if we came back and did survey work in a couple of years' time, we'd like to see much more of those positive words. But for the moment, perception is reality. Of course, we also ask customers what they like about visiting Saxmundham town centre. And you can see they like a whole range of factors. They value the convenience of the town centre. They value the customer service provided by the businesses. They find the town easy to walk around. It's clean. They like that grocery offer. It's easy to get to. It's a safe place and offers reasonable value for money. And we ask customers also about their priorities for improving the town centre. And again, you can see that same division into two main sets of priorities. Things about how to travel into the town and around the town, and then the range of businesses, including those restaurants and cafes and other amenities that bring that whole experience to life and make it an enjoyable place to visit and to linger. And then just an indication of how many people are walking about the town, the footfall, and where they move between different places, the foot flow. And what we can see in Saxmundham is if you look at the footfall outside the supermarkets, it's what we would expect typically in a small town of its size. But if we move into the town centre, including on market day, we find that that footfall has greatly reduced, and so the foot flow around the town is very uneven, and that's something we need to think about going forward. One last piece of information from the survey work specific to Saxmundham, and that's about digital development. We asked similar questions to customers and businesses. Here is just a quick review of the answers from customers, and you can see that there's an appetite, yes, for improving the infrastructure, the phone network, etc., but also to see more services available online so that people can enjoy the town that they're already familiar with and get more out of its business and services. Now we're just going to look at 3 bits of information that show how the different towns across East Suffolk compare and contrast. The first one, we're looking at the services. So what are the things that bring a town to life apart from the retail? And if you can see, looking at the dark blue, the navy blue bar that represents Saxmundham, that you can see those things where it's pubs, bars, cafes, leisure facilities, cultural activities, things that bring the town to life. People are more negative in Saxmundham, suggesting that their understanding or the presence of those things is lacking, and it's something that we need to focus on going forward. If we look at hospitality across these Suffolk towns, we can see that's very different as reflected in the proportion of cafes, restaurants, bars and pubs, takeaways. Now, different towns have different roles and some are much more touristy, so we wouldn't expect them all to be the same. What we can see for Saxmundham, though, is that there's a lower than average representation of cafes, restaurants, bars and pubs, again, things that bring people into town and create a life, create that social role for our town centres. And lastly, looking at sentiments, we can see that in Saxmundham, customers' sentiment about the changing experience of the town is that people are feeling over recent years that the experience has worsened. And that's something we want to look at, we want to understand, and we want to turn around. And part of that is about marketing, promoting the message, because the town does have a lot to offer that perhaps has not been appreciated. Now, in terms of revitalising the town centre, we're going to talk about a key element, and that's about creating partnerships, getting different groups, getting local authorities, getting everybody with a clear and coordinated vision of the future and all rowing in the same direction to deliver it. If you look at the guidance that we wrote for the Local Government Association, you'll see at People and Places we follow a sequence which we call the F factors. That starts at the top with the foundations, understanding what's going on, putting organisations and people in place, and then planning to deliver projects, knowing that we've got the support and we've got the capacity to make those happen. Now, there are many ways that town teams, town partnerships can get organised to work together, and there are no wrongs and rights. Here I just show a range of models that are possible, and we need to think what works best in every specific place. So there can be very formal arrangements, such as business improvement districts, which is business-led, which we have in Lowestoft and we're seeing coming together in Felixstowe. They can be very informal partnerships, just coordinating existing groups, or we can have town partnerships hosted by the local authority, hosted by the town council, or hosted by other organisations within the town. Looking at businesses' perceptions of partnership working in the town, the good news is for Saxmundham that it's strongly positive compared to neighbouring towns across East Suffolk. So whether that's for events and activities, marketing and promotion, existing local partnerships, businesses see the value in what's already been working in Saxmundham. Here, based on the survey evidence, is our first suggestions of how a town team, a town partnership in Saxmundham may come together. And we're suggesting 2 working groups that focus on the issues and develop solutions. The first around the growth and development opportunities and how that might lead to improving travel, parking, and how people move around the streetscape. And then the second area about promoting business diversification, new business opportunities, and promoting and marketing those businesses that are already in the town centre, including through digital marketing, social media, so that more people understand what the offer is and flow around the town. And all of that needs to be coordinated and communicated clearly through a core group representing different interests to get us all rowing in the same direction, and to communicate both internally to partner groups and to the wider community and businesses so that everybody understands what's been trying to achieve and what's been done to achieve it. As we embark on the journey to turn around the town, to boost it for the future, we're now going to focus just a little bit on what process is involved in that, how we come together, how we develop projects, and how we remain focused on changing things. I'm going to flag up some information about where you can look elsewhere to see things that have been achieved, starting with work we did a couple of years ago in Southwold, and that you can access from our website, and you can show how this process of providing a forward framework then underpins project development, fundraising, and helps us move forward. Bungay is a town where we're currently working with East Suffolk Council, with the Town Council, and with the Business Association there to develop an action plan of projects, and that's something that I can share with you. You can access a summary of their developing forward framework again through our websites if you want to look at how other towns are coming together. On the postcards from section of our website, you can though find our summary of the emerging forward framework for Saxmundham, where we've got in terms of understanding the towns and pointing to where we need to go in future. And that's something which will evolve and that we're looking to add to as part of this process. Here is an aid memoir that you might find useful as part of the planning and project delivery process. It's our town centre checklist developed as part of our work with the local government association. And it's something, whether figuratively or actually reality, advise you to get out every 3 to 6 months and just say, where are we in terms of progress? And that's beginning with putting together the organisation, and then in terms of the function, a whole range of things that we need to look across if we're going to have a coordinated and joined up response to revitalising the town centre. Here you can see for the summary forward framework for Saxmundham how we've grouped a range of issues that have come out of the survey work so that we can focus the role of those working groups on our project planning and our monitoring and showing success on certain key areas. One of the exciting things about Saxmundham, and which we reflect on in the summary document, is the town is very much at a crossroads. It's growing, there are things happening, things changing, and we can see probably as much as any town locally, there's that combination for the possibility for quick wins, including, as reflected in this illustration, that you have so many customers so near to your town centres at the supermarkets, and to ensure that the long-term planning is right, so that the growth, sustainable travel, people feeling emotionally and physically connected to that town centre, that will continue. So now is definitely a very opportune time to focus on the future of Saxmundham Town Centre. And you're not alone in Saxmundham. There's a support network across East Suffolk that can help you in revitalising your town centre, including a district-wide support on 2 key projects, the Town Parking Review and the Smart Towns project, about how towns can boost their online presence, their digital services, their digital activity. So you're not alone in this, and again, great to link into those district-wide opportunities and also the learning from other towns. So coming back to those work areas that I'm suggesting, let's look at how we need to understand the issues, keep focused on addressing those issues, and be very outcome-led in how we plan and deliver projects in the town centre. Here, as a prerequisite to planning solutions for Saxmundham Town Centre, I just want to reflect on some of the headlines of the things that we're looking to improve. There's a lot more detail about this on the East Suffolk Towns Initiative website in the link below, but let's just quickly reflect on what we're trying to change so we keep that in mind. People have said that flexible parking and traffic management is a priority, and we want to see that change. The neighbourhood plan process has a good understanding of how we want to move towards the lively, thriving town centre and use growth as part of that. We want to build on customers' positive perceptions, and we want to do that in a way that gets them moving around the town, because we have so many customers on our doorsteps at the supermarkets. This slide focuses on the softer business diversification and skills development needs, a whole area of work where businesses need to be central to this. And let's just remind us of some of the things that we're looking to improve over the coming years. There is a capacity for more hospitality businesses, food and drink, to draw people from the supermarkets. We need to turn around that feeling that the town's worsened, which you may feel is unfair, but it's a perception. And some of that is about the message, some of that is about making improvements. We need to create that buzz in the town centre that retains it as a hub. So that's about cultural, it's about hospitality, it's about services alongside the businesses. Business diversification, including cafes and restaurants, is a priority for customers. And some of that really is about showing off what's already there, but also if we can deliver a more active and thriving town in all sorts of ways, then there's a chance that businesses will want to locate there. And how can we use social media as one way of communicating what is already available to draw people in from the surrounding areas, from new homes, and also as I keep coming back to those supermarkets on our doorsteps. And this, being disciplined and being outcomes focused and trying to address what people had said are the issues, this suggests targets, measures, way that hopefully we come back in 1 year, in 2 years and in 5 years and say, look, we've changed things, things have improved, and if we survey again, people will be much more positive. I hope this summary of the forward framework process for revitalising town centres has been helpful. Essentially, it's been about understanding the issues, about bringing key groups together to add value, to work together, to row in the same direction. And then it's how we plan projects, how we build the capacity, bring in the resources, and keep focusing on the changes we're looking to bring about. So that if we resurvey the town in the future, we will have evidence that it's improving and we will have put smiles on people's faces about their town. So I leave you with a focus on the next step in this process. How do we get organised collectively? Who else do we need to bring in to help work on finding solutions? And then we can move on to the planning process, working through in those groups and in a coordinated and well communicated way, a plan for improving, revitalising Saxmundham Town Centre. Thank you very much.